Pardon the interruption, but I'm Michael Tony. Elon Musk says he once accidentally attended a sex party.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. People said he was there, but I was chained up in the basement.
What were you doing, chewing through your leather mask?
I had a leather mask, and whenever I tried to talk, nobody could hear me.
Yeah, that ball was in the middle.
Yeah. You know a lot more about this than you should.
Let's not talk about that.
You know a lot more about this than you should.
You know, I was of age in the 70s, the very, very late 70s.
Elon Musk. It's the Tesla guy, right?
I know.
Making a lot of money.
Don't act like he's only at one sex party. Come on.
Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Scott Frost jabs at Nick Saban. The Cavs are struggling, and Markelle Fultz is still broken.
That shot.
But we begin today with some weird rumblings from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Safety Mike Mitchell is talking about next week, looking past Jacksonville and saying, quote, "We're going to play the Patriots again and we're going to win," unquote. Running back Le'Veon Bell is talking about next year. He's threatening retirement if the Steelers try to franchise him again. Bell said, quote, "Get the numbers straight. I'm not going to settle for anything. I'm not going out here getting the ball 400 times if I'm not getting what I feel I'm valued at," unquote. We'll move on to the Steelers setting themselves up for a fall.
Yeah, they are. But it doesn't mean that Jacksonville is even good enough going up there a second time, having already won in the regular season, to sort of complete that, to execute it. So I still would say the Steelers had better win this game and will win this game. Yeah, I mean, this is a classic case of coaches when they talk about distractions. Well, you're not actually looking at this game.
Right.
You're looking all around. Bill Belichick would never allow that. But the Steelers and the Patriots are very different organizations. The Steelers always have some guys, at least in the last 15 years, since the Cowher time, not Chuck Noll. They mouth off during the week, and it works okay. They've won Super Bowls. Patriots would never do this, though.
See, I think this is actually next to nothing. I think the Le'Veon Bell thing is absolutely nothing. Because he could get a contract in the summer.
Nothing.
And by the way, if there's any team in the league used to diva stars talking about retirement because of Ben Roethlisberger doing it 4 times a season, it's the Steelers. The Mike Mitchell thing concerns me a little bit, but you could say he's trying to rally his troops. Plus, Mike, that game is more than a week away. By Wednesday, that could be forgotten and something could overtake it. So I believe, as I think you believe, that neither Tennessee nor Jacksonville can win these games.
Yeah, but
they are going to play.
We're reminded of Steve Young saying to us, was that yesterday, day before maybe?
Yesterday. Way to keep track.
That the only thing that can really take the Steelers out of this at home is hubris. And the Steelers, they seem like they're a little full of themselves. I watched them lose to the Bears this season. So they're not, the 1979 Pittsburgh Steelers. It's not the steel curtain Steelers that's going to go out there and wipe the floor with somebody necessarily.
Honestly, I think what they're saying, or certainly what Mitchell is saying, reflects what we all think. We want to see that game. We do. We want to see the Steelers and the Patriots.
There's one way we won't see the game.
If the Steelers lose.
Which team is more likely to get full of itself and completely ignore this week's opponent?
The Patriots don't do that.
That's right. They don't.
On
to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Whatever.
They don't do that.
All right. Everybody in the world has already declared Steelers, Patriots, AFC winners this weekend. So let's go to the more complicated NFC.
Including Mike Mitchell.
That's right. Yeah. A more balanced Falcons team than we saw last postseason visits the angry at the odds makers Eagles in Philly. And in what I think is the best matchup of the weekend, I think you do too, Tony.
Yes.
The Vikings' stout but starless defense gets the chance to announce itself against Drew Brees and the Saints in Minnesota. So, Tony, give me the winners that would provide the best NFC title game.
Yeah, so let's look at this philosophically from my point of view. I like to see offense versus defense. I like to see the best of each go in. I think that the best offense right now is the New Orleans Saints with Drew Brees and Kamara and Ingram. And I would like to see them, and I'd like to see them against the Philadelphia Eagles, even without Carson Wentz. But my problem is that the best defense is Minnesota.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing that game this weekend. Now, if I want New Orleans to win, then my default position is that I want them to be able to play Philadelphia. And what shortens that game a little bit for all of us is that will be outdoors in a cold weather city, which the Saints, if they get there, are not used to. And it will put a tremendous amount of pressure on Sean Payton and Drew Brees. But if you ask me the optimum game for me, that's it.
Yeah, I want to see Atlanta back. Atlanta has history now. Not much.
Atlanta.
But there's history. Yeah.
You sit here day after day and you say that they are a team you can't trust.
I didn't say I wanted to trust them. I said I want to see them. I want to see Atlanta in the NFC title game.
Against who?
That's a repeat situation. They are defending conference champions.
Okay, who do you
want to see them at Minnesota in a rematch of a game I covered in 1998, Atlanta versus Minnesota for the Super Bowl to get the team NFC Championship game. I want to see that game. I want to see the Minnesota Vikings, Tony. I want to see Bud Grant standing outside the stadium in the cold in a golf shirt.
See, I don't want to see New Orleans against Atlanta because we've seen that twice.
That's right.
I don't care about that.
Eagles, sorry. If Carson Wentz was there, I'd want to see them, but he's not.
The only problem I've got with Atlanta and Minnesota is that they continue to be indoor teams. They don't really get tested. That's what I like
that either.
That's what I like New Orleans against Philadelphia.
There's no Niners, Giants. There's none of that this year.
So you want the exact opposite of what I want.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Markelle Fultz, the overall number 1 pick in the NBA draft, has played in only 4 games this season. But Fultz is practicing with his team now. Yesterday he was on the court pregame with his teammates in London, where the Sixers played the Celtics for no apparent reason. There is video of Fultz shooting. There is hesitation in his motion, and his release point is quite low.
Yeah.
Wilbon, how concerned should the Sixers be?
I mean, how concerned are the Lakers with Lonzo Ball's release? And I think he had 7 of 11 last night, so he had a good shooting night.
But Lonzo Ball had that shot in college.
He
didn't.
If you look at Fultz shooting in college,
it's different.
And I did today. It's a different shot. We talked early in the year about the Sixers remaking a shot. I know coaches and shooting coaches tinker with shots, but my God, lower release point, he's 6'3". He's not Wilt, and he lowers the release point. He's 6'3". So
every shot will be blocked.
I don't understand it. Look, people this year, is easy to sort of praise the process. You know, in Philly, it take a lot of self-congratulatory junk in Philly.
Yeah.
All right, they're 500. And everybody red shirts. And it looks like Markelle Fultz, until we see him on the court, is going to essentially redshirt this season.
The curse of being drafted by the 76ers is you go right to a hospital bed. You don't actually play.
Yeah.
I come back to Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge totally snookered the Philadelphia 76ers.
And the players,
He gets Tatum, who he wants.
Yeah.
The Sixers take Fultz. And Danny Ainge could get a top 5 pick. Now, look, I would like to see Markelle Fultz do well because he's local for us.
Kid for us.
He went to DeMatha. This is a school of Adrian Dantley and Danny Ferry and Victor Oladipo and James Brown, our friend James Brown. So we would like to see him do well. But I have real fears here. He looks to be not anything like the player they drafted.
Maybe it'll just be delayed because the process requires you to redshirt at least 1 year. Maybe Fultz will get this shooting stroke worked out and his release point higher, and it'll be fine next year. Maybe that'll happen, Tony. They're very patient. Not everybody's as patient as the Sixers are. But Fultz could score. Look, he's not out there trying to be Steph Curry or Klay Thompson. This kid could get in the paint and had a medium-range game. He shot the ball well from 3 as well. He was a great offensive player. What the hell is going on?
Did you just listen to yourself?
What?
He was a great offensive player.
He was.
He penetrated and he had a shot inside the paint.
He did.
Does it look like he's that kid now?
It doesn't look like you can get that shot over anybody taller than Muggsy Bogues.
Why would you go out and buy a beautiful piece of art and they spray paint it? Why exactly would you do that?
I don't get it. The process. These are your people. I-95, Northeast
No, they're not my people.
No, stop.
People. They're not. No.
I'll take Milwaukee. I'll take Indianapolis. I ain't taking Philly.
Not my people.
You can tell Scott Frost.
I like Philly, but not my people.
They're your people. Scott Frost is new to this high-profile head coaching thing, Tony, because he gave an answer actually worth listening to on the topic of Nick Saban going to freshman to a Tagovailoa at halftime. I knew I was going to butcher it. Quote, "It was a decision I don't know I would have been courageous enough to make." That's the answer you want to hear. The other answer is that he was pretty obviously better, and they had 12 games to figure that out and didn't, close quote. Tony, is that assessment from Frost fair criticism of Saban given the outcome of that game?
The answer is sort of complicated because the answer is actually yes and no.
Tagovailoa.
It is fair in this regard that everybody knew that Jalen Hurts was not a particularly good passer. And so it is fair to say that this passer came in and was, I think, a courageous decision on the part of Nick Saban. Where it's not fair criticism is in this regard. Jalen Hurts led that team to 2 straight national championships because he's a leader.
25
okay, he's not necessarily the greatest passer in the world, but remember Charlie Ward in Florida State, Tommy Frazier, I guess, in Nebraska. These guys were leaders of their team. So to sit back and say, you know, he should have been replaced, I don't know why I would replace him.
I don't know that Frost is saying he should have been replaced. I think he's saying they should have known. Now, known means you may or may not do anything about it, and known can be also you do something about it when you need him to come out of the pen.
Do you remember when Ohio State went to Cardale Jones?
Yes.
And he was spectacular?
Yes.
And he came back the next year. He didn't start. He did not start.
But right now, if you had to bet, Tagovailoa?
I don't know.
Or
I don't know.
Hurts,
I don't know how.
If you had to bet.
Well, Nick Saban likes a power run offense.
That kid could run. Tagovailoa can run as well.
My answer.
What is it that he couldn't do?
My answer is I don't know, but I will tell you this: that Scott Frost was, I believe, the offensive coordinator at Oregon.
And by the way,
this kid wanted.
They allegedly recruited him, which means they couldn't seal the deal on a kid who wanted to go to Oregon.
He wanted to go to Oregon, and they were late in offering a scholarship, and by that time he was gone. So
you think that Coach Nick is going to be upset by this? Put this on his bulletin board if he plays Nebraska.
He puts everything. Huh? Yeah, of course. Yankees announcer Michael Kay says that the Yankees offered Yu Darvish a 7-year, $160 million contract. But when Darvish did not accept within 48 hours, the Yankees withdrew their offer. Well, Bon, if this is true, what does it tell you about Darvish, and what does it tell you about the Yankees?
Nothing.
Nothing
significant.
Really?
It means Darvish may not want to play for the Yankees. Maybe he wants to play for the Cubs. They got an offer out there. They're one of about 5 teams. The Yankees were one of them.
Yeah.
So maybe it's down to 4 right now. The Cubs and a lot of things that I listened to and read were said to be leaders in the clubhouse. Darvish hadn't obviously signed anywhere.
I'm not going to
So maybe he wants to go somewhere else. No. I mean, wherever. Yeah. Maybe he don't want to play for the Yankees. And it says nothing about the Yankees. The Yankees have all the money to spend in the world. They wanted a quick decision. Maybe they didn't want to deal with Darvish taking a month so they can move set their sights on somebody else. But it's not. It's big deal, little deal, no deal is no deal.
And I think differently than you do.
Why?
I think the Yankees got very, very lucky. Because Yu Darvish, the last time we saw him in the World Series, the Houston Astros were batting .464 against him.
Yeah.
And it was said that he tipped his pitches. I mean, I think, and I wrote this down, over the last 3 years, he's 27 and 24. And you're going to give him 7 years?
No.
Yeah,
39 years old?
38. You're going to give him 7 years. I think what it says about Darvish is he still believes his value is super high.
Yeah.
And, God bless him if that's what he believes and he can go somewhere else. But what I find interesting is that, we both love the hot stove league, except the stove's cold.
Nothing
is going on.
Last year, it was a sizzler. This year, the last 2 years, sizzling.
Giancarlo Stanton, one thing, and then Ohtani going to the Angels. What else is going on?
I don't even consider that. I mean, nobody knows what Ohtani can do.
But he's interesting because
he's interesting because of what we've heard.
Yeah.
But if I'm the Yankees, I don't have to sit around waiting for you, Darvish. It doesn't mean anything.
What if you're Darvish? You think it just means you're going somewhere else?
Oh, he's got other offers. The question is where. Maybe the average yearly payout is higher.
Darvish is 31, and somebody offers you 7 and you turn it down? Mm-hmm. Really? Let's take a break. Coming up, speaking about people who got long offers, will John Gruden make it more than halfway through his reported 10-year deal?
And will Tom Brady make it one more full season with the Pats? Over-under is next.
You walk away from $160 million, you must have other offers, right? You have to have other offers.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're an imbecile.
If you can get $4 million.
It is time for the game with just 2 options, just 2. Over and under, no pushes.
I may push.
Nobody respects a push. What is the first number?
The first one, over, under. Let's get a look. 5.5, the number of seasons with the Raiders for your boy, John Gruden.
I'm going to go over. I never would have given him 10 years. 10 years is insane.
Right.
But the reason I'm going to go over is because he's an offensive coach and he is inheriting Derek Carr and Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree. And I think in his first 2 years, in one of those years, he's going to win 10 games. I know that they're going to take him.
The key is to get to Vegas.
I know.
That's the key.
I know that he's going to get to Vegas.
The money's got to
because
escalate when you get to Vegas.
They are selling him as the sort of sexy hire to get to Vegas. So I think I give him 4 years. But if he's any good at all, I'm giving him 6.
Wow.
A minimum of 6.
Wow.
Because the owner loves him and cheated to get him.
I'm going to give him 4. I'm going to go
You're going to go under.
But I'm going to have him winning big. Maybe getting to a Super Bowl. And then, you know what he can do? Go back to the booth. And he can live in Vegas. He can live wherever he wants. He can be a part owner. The owners would approve
Walk away from a total of $100
million. He'll get more money. He'll get more money.
No, he won't.
Yes, he will. Longer contract, more money. Part owner. Surprise you with that.
Next.
Over, under. Here's what's next. 18 and a half more games as a Patriot for Tom, the Golden Boy Brady.
So I am certain that he will get all the games next year, which is 16. So I have to get to 19.
Right.
Now, the way I get to 19 this year is if they get to the Super Bowl. Because that's 3 more games.
Of course.
So
now you're down to 15 and a half.
No. But the problem is, what if they don't get to the Super Bowl?
There.
What if the Steelers beat them? See, I don't think in 2019.
Next year anyway.
I think nothing is guaranteed in 2019.
I agree.
Not in 2019. Now, I'm tempted to go under because I honestly think your head would explode, but I'm not.
It would.
I'm going over.
It would, and I'm going over. I'm going over because they're going to get to the Super Bowl this year. The Steelers are not going in to New England, to Foxborough, and beat them. That's not going to happen. So they're going to get 3 more games this year. That leaves them with 15 and a half. That even leaves a Greg Popovichian sit down and rest, healthy scratch
for
one game.
But you believe they'll get to the playoffs next year anyway.
They could rest for a couple of games.
Right.
I got cushion on my 18 and a half. Sure, they're going to get to at least 1 Super Bowl, but then the next season,
nothing is guaranteed. The next one. What's next?
Over under 51 and a half wins for the Cavaliers this season.
Okay, so they're on pace right now for 52, even 2-6 in their last 8 games, even losing 2 in a row by 28 points and 34 points. Man. They won 51 games last year and were fine, got to the finals. Ty Lue apparently thinks that people have an agenda on his team. He doesn't say who or what the agenda is. Ty Lue is one sideways glance away by LeBron James of not coaching this team at any given point. I think LeBron James can get to the finals from as low as 5th or 6th. So I'm going to go under. I'm going to go over. Because
LeBron's tired of this. And he knows, let me just tell you, they won 51 last year, right? Or 52
Yes,
last
51.
Come on, seriously?
Got to the
Celtics,
finals.
would they be that bad?
No.
No.
They got
Michael's
to the finals,
team,
though.
Magic's teams,
no, but they got
Julius's teams. At some point, once you start comparing yourself to all these people and allowing for the comparison and having a favorable view of the comparison, then you got to perform up to it. And the Cleveland Cavaliers don't do that. I think they will. I think they'll get to 53 or 54, and they can't win from 5th or 6th. They can win from 2nd or 3rd.
They can win from wherever they want. What's next?
123 more games as Lakers head coach from a man, Luke Walton.
Okay, so that is the amount of games that it would take Walker through the end of next season.
Right.
This is not a slam dunk.
Walton, what'd you say?
Did I say Walker or Walton?
Walton.
This is not a slam dunk.
No, it's not.
And I base that on the fact that Magic Johnson has not publicly come out and said anything bad about what LeVar Ball said, that the Lakers don't want to play for him. Now, Paul George's agent was praising of Luke Walton. If you want to get Paul George, that's a good thing. I believe that I'm going to go over because I think that Paul George and LeBron will go there. But LeBron may bring your boy David Fizdale with him. Okay, so that complicates matters. I don't know. Look, I'm going over.
You know what? I hope it's over because I like Luke Walton. And I think what Luke Walton did in Golden State 2 years ago when Steve Kerr was out.
When he won 1,000 games.
Understated and underrated. And I know how much those guys who played for that team like Luke Walton. You know, I'm hoping that. I'm afraid it could be under. You have all this ball drama situation, and it does affect the locker room. And when it affects the locker room, it means negatively. I worry for my man, Luke Walton.
Did you like my Fizdale reference? Got that from Windhorse.
Fizz, I like that.
Stole that from Windhorse. That's it. This game's over. Let's take one last break. Still to come, should the Warriors elevate their concern over Steph Curry's ankle injury?
Not playing tonight, I know that.
They should elevate his foot.
Should Fitty take up the Mets on their offer to throw out another first pitch?
Wow, how great was that pitch?
Another first pitch.
What, do you think he could get closer to the ballpark on the next one?
I would hope. That's why you get another one. Second chances.
Would you? Happy time, people. Happy 54th birthday, Jeff Bezos. The owner of Amazon is the richest man in the world. His net worth is now valued at $108 billion.
Billion.
A few years back, Bezos bought the Washington Post for $250 million and simply wrote a personal check. Why does this matter to you? Because in the near future, Bezos is likely to make a broadcast deal for a sports league like the NFL and stream it on Amazon.
Did we leave too early?
Yes.
That have helped us?
Certainly possible.
30 years, and then the billionaire guy comes in. We loved our time there. Just teasing.
Happy anniversary, Sean McVay. On this day last year, the Rams surprisingly named the 30-year-old Redskins offensive coordinator as head coach, making him the youngest head coach in modern NFL history. McVay quickly proved himself capable as the Rams jumped to a 7-2 start, finished 11-5. As a result, McVay likely to be named Coach of the Year. And as we have seen with the Chicago Bears, young, barely known coaches are going to be in line for big vacancies in the NFL.
How do you feel if you're the Redskins, really? Redskins brass.
Stupid.
McVay, he was just there. We weren't even sure who he was.
He's just
gone, and he's 11-5.
Happy trails, Rick Dennison. The Buffalo Bills have fired their offensive coordinator after just one season. The Bills ranked 29th in average yards per game, 24th in offensive points scored per game this season. And in the second halves of games, after Week 10, they scored 5.6 points per game, which is awful. But have you seen Tyrod Taylor? How are you supposed to score with Tyrod Taylor and Nathan Peterman?
Tell me who Rick Dennison played for and give me the era.
I have no idea. I'll say the 1980s.
Denver Broncos, John Elway.
Oh, is that right?
On some of those teams, yeah.
I was unaware of that. I really was. How did you remember that? Just pull that out of thin air? Really? Good job out of you. Let's go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
Steph Curry will miss tonight's game against the Bucks with his bum ankle. Is this cause for concern?
Not yet, Tony. He can miss a few games. They don't need Steph right now. If he wins the All-Star vote, Kevin Durant says he doesn't want to pick the All-Star team. That's understandable, right?
Grow up. It's an All-Star. Grow up. Just pick some people.
Shirts and skins on the playground.
The NBA fined Rodney Hood $35 large for slapping that phone out of that fan's hands. Too much, too little, just right.
That's better than 1% of his salary. I want to see 50, but I'll chill at 25. Rafael Palmeiro released another batting cage video. How'd he look, Tony?
He looked fine for a 53-year-old man in a batting cage, and maybe he'll get a couple of at-bats in spring training, but he's not going north.
No, he's
not going north. Last one, the Mets have invited 50 Cent.
50!
To throw out another first pitch. Should he do it?
Can't be as bad as the first one, yes.
It actually could be worse.
Invite, he should accept.
It's 50-50 that it could be worse. We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Have a great weekend, Knuckleheads. You can get the podcast on the app or Apple Podcasts. Ty Law just invited us to his trampoline park in Rockville, opening tomorrow. You come and
I'm not getting on a trampoline.
Come on,
no.
Ty Law's got
Happy
some nice.
birthday, Rob.